I saw a ghost, not the kind that haunts old houses, but a far crueler specter. It was the ghost of who I could have been. Every morning it stared back at me from the mirror, a silent reminder of broken promises, of wasted potential. Have you ever felt that shadow chasing you? That bitter sense that life is passing you by, and the routine you dreamed of, the one that would make you unstoppable, feels like an impossible maze? I lived in that labyrinth. What I'm about to reveal to you now is unfound in self-help books or productivity gurus. It wasn't a grand epiphany, but a whisper, a small, different voice amidst the chorus of self-criticism, dated 1978. In it, the professor described a curious experiment with soldiers struggling with procrastination. He noticed that the standard approach of tightening the belt only worked for a minority, and only for a short time. Most would collapse under the pressure. But he observed something in those who did maintain discipline, not through brute force, but through an apparent fluidity. And he wrote, "Routine is not a hammer that forces the will, but water that molds the river." But what if it's just a small, irritating, persistent pebble in your shoe? And ask, what is the easiest trigger for me to not do what I want? Is it your phone? Is it the warm bed? Is it a lack of preparation the night before? Be brutally honest. The professor in his letter called this environmental engineering. If you want to read but always watch TV, unplug the TV and put the remote in another room. If you want to exercise but can't get started, lay out your workout clothes and shoes next to your bed. Make your environment an ally, not an enemy. Your routine doesn't need a push, it needs a gentle slope. One push-up, opening the book to the right page, just opening the work file. This small victory is a domino effect that starts the routine. Most people give up after one bad day. Foolproof Method recognizes that you will fail. If you fail one day, promise yourself that the next day, you only need to execute the minimum irreversible movement. For each routine item, this removes the pressure, transforms guilt into permission to try again, and builds resilience. The perfect routine isn't one without failures, but one that always resets. Life happens. The important thing is how you recover. The gentle reset cycle is your recovery strategy. If I missed a day, the next day I wouldn't try to compensate or beat myself up. I would just go back to the minimum irreversible movement. No guilt, no shame, just reset. It's like a river encountering a rock. Doesn't stop, it flows around it and continues its course. If the phone is the pebble, it can't be available. I started by putting it in the kitchen, in a drawer, far from my bedroom. The thought of getting up, going to the kitchen, opening a drawer to get it, already created a barrier. The friction was greater than the immediate reward. For me, the pebble was my phone on the nightstand. The plan was to wake up at 5 a.m., but my arm would instinctively reach for the phone before my mind even processed the alarm. I wasn't failing at discipline. I was failing to remove the easiest trigger. It follows the path of least resistance, and in doing so, carves the deepest. That sentence, ... That sentence was the key I needed. Routine wasn't about iron discipline, but about intelligent design. I had a chapter. This creates resistance. The solution isn't to lower the goal, but to lower the first step. The minimum irreversible movement is the smallest possible step that gets you unstuck and irreversibly moving towards your routine. For me, it wasn't meditating for 20 minutes. It was just sitting on the meditation cushion for 30 seconds. That's it. And often, those 30 seconds turned into 5, then 10. To run, it wasn't 3 miles. It was just putting on my running shoes. It was about making the desired path easier than the path of inertia. It was the voice of curiosity. What if? What if the problem isn't you? And what if the problem is the method? That question, simple yet revolutionary, hit me like lightning. I had always blamed myself, always thought something was wrong with me. But what if I was looking in the wrong place? And what if the key to the routine I always wanted wasn't more force, but a deeper understanding of how we, as humans, actually function? It's a method I call foolproof, and it changed my life. You need to hear this. My story isn't unique. For years, I believed in the lie of willpower. Every Monday was a glorious new beginning. Promises that when you fail, you'll have a clear, almost automatic path to get back on track. It's not by force, but by design. The alarm would blare at 5 a.m. My to-do list looked like a sacred scroll. The alarm became a relentless enemy. Meditation morphed into anxious stupor. workouts into crushing guilt. The once sacred to-do list now scorned me, gathering dust. I'd find myself slipping back into old habits, into the vicious cycle of procrastination and discouragement. My bed became a refuge, my phone a drug. Each failure was a silent stab at my self-confidence, a cruel proof that I wasn't disciplined enough. That cruel, persistent inner voice whispered, "You can't do it. You'll never do it." And the ghost of who I could have been, it would smile, victorious from my mirror. And I'd feel that rush, knowing that this time it would be different. I watched every productivity video, read every book on habits. I forced myself, punished myself, promised myself, but my dream routine remained a sandcastle washed away by the slightest wave of stress or fatigue. The frustration was a bottomless pit. I felt trapped in an endless cycle of hope and disappointment. My body ached with tiredness, but my mind was ablaze, replaying every failure, every wasted morning, every goal that turned to dust. It was a personal hell, built brick by brick from good intentions and terrible executions. The world around me seemed to flow effortlessly while I floundered in the mud of my own failures. And the worst part? I knew what I should be doing, but I couldn't do it. It was as if an invisible force pulled me back into inertia. I'd visualized my perfect routine: meditation at sunrise, workouts that would sculpt my body, deep study to sharpen my mind, a nutritious breakfast prepared calmly, without rush. The image was clear, vibrant, almost palpable. I could smell the coffee, feel the morning breeze through the window, the satisfaction of checking off items from my list. It was the life I always wanted. But then came Tuesday, or maybe Wednesday, and the perfection would begin to crumble. I tried everything: routine apps, colorful planners, 30-day challenges, until one particularly dark night, after another day of a shattered routine and self-recrimination, something clicked. It was then that I stumbled upon an old letter from a psychology professor to his student, and that's how the foolproof method was born. It doesn't promise you'll never fail again. That's a lie. The foolproof method. Carving your river, step 1. Identify the pebble in your shoe. We tend to see routine failure as a colossal monster. I have no discipline. I'm lazy. Action. Take your dream routine and identify a single recurring point of failure, the one that always trips you up. Step 2. Make the desired path slippery once you've identified the pebble. The next step is simple. Make the desired action more accessible and the undesired one less accessible. Action. For your point of failure, create a barrier for the undesired action. Step 3. The minimum irreversible movement rule. This is the game changer. Often we fail at routines because the first task is too big. Meditate for 20 minutes. Run 3 miles. For each item in your routine, define the minimum irreversible movement. That action's so small it's impossible to say no. Step 4. The gentle reset cycle. The biggest enemy of a routine isn't failure, but the reaction to failure. Action. Create your own reset plan. If you fail one day, promise yourself that the next day you only need to execute the minimum irreversible movement. For each routine item, this removes the pressure, transforms guilt into permission to try again, and builds resilience. The perfect routine isn't one without failures, but one that always resets. Step 5. The energy audit. Fueling your flow, I used to think my routine failures were always about discipline. But a deeper truth emerged. Sometimes the fuel tank was just empty. My energy levels, often depleted by poor sleep, haphazard eating, or constant low-level stress, were sabotaging my best intentions before the day even began. It wasn't about doing more, but about having more to give. This should be the single highest leverage task that, if done, will make your entire day feel like a success, regardless of what else happens. Protect this task fiercely, scheduling it first in your peak energy time. Don't move on until it's done. This single act of strategic focus will create a powerful cascading effect, making your entire routine more robust and satisfying. I learned to treat my body and mind like a high-performance vehicle, recognizing that what I put in directly affected my ability to maintain my desired flow. Forcing myself to exercise when I was running on 4 hours of sleep was a recipe for failure, not discipline. Life throws curveballs, unexpected meetings, a sick child, a sudden creative burst. Give yourself a mental pat on the back. Say well done. Allow to use a small, immediate, non-disruptive reward that genuinely feels good. This positive reinforcement builds a powerful feedback loop, making you want to engage with your routine rather than forcing yourself. But the truth is, we are social creatures, and shared accountability can be a powerful accelerant. The accountability partner blueprint isn't just about finding someone to check in with. It's about a mutual commitment to growth where you actively support each other's routines. It's finding someone who understands the struggle, celebrates your small wins, and gently nudges you back on track when you stumble, without judgment. This added a layer of external motivation and made the journey less lonely. Knowing someone else was counting on me, even just for a quick morning text, often made the difference on those challenging days. Now, it transformed my internal battle into a shared mission. Make your routine a source of small, consistent wins. Establish a simple accountability partner blueprint. Agree on a check-in frequency. Share your one thing domino for the day, and report back on completion. Focus on mutual encouragement and non-judgmental support. This shared momentum can be the secret ingredient that propels your routine from a struggle to a sustainable habit. My old self would abandon the entire routine the moment it was disrupted. The flexibility anchor taught me to adapt without derailing. There's no joy, no reward, just the next task. The celebration loop changed this. The simple, yet profoundly effective strategy. Consciously acknowledge and celebrate even the smallest victories within your routine. The routine you always wanted isn't waiting for willpower you might never have. It's waiting for a design that makes it impossible to repeatedly fail. It's waiting for you to stop fighting the current and start molding your own river. Our brains are wired for reward. If the only reward is the distant goal, it's hard to sustain daily effort. I've started with simple things. A mental high five after my 30-second meditation. A physical checkmark with a flourish after my one thing domino. Over time, I added small, non-disruptive rewards. A specific piece of music, a few minutes of guilt-free, focused browse, or a short walk outdoors. This rewired my brain to associate the routine itself with positive feelings, transforming it from a burden into a source of sustained joy and motivation. It's about having a core, non-negotiable anchor in your day that you protect fiercely, but allowing the surrounding elements to be fluid. My anchor became my morning minimum irreversible movement and my one thing domino. If the rest of the day went off script, I knew I had still landed the most critical punches. This wasn't about lowering standards. It was about creating a resilient routine that could bend without breaking. This step shifted my focus from brute-forcing tasks to optimizing my internal state. This is your non-negotiable foundation. For everything else, embrace a mindset of good enough. If you can't do your full workout, do 10 minutes. If you can't read a chapter, read a paragraph. Build a system that allows for imperfection and adaptation rather than crumbling at the first sign of deviation. This builds peace of mind and prevents the all-or-nothing trap. Action. Perform a daily energy audit. At intervals throughout your day, ask yourself, where is my energy right now on a scale of 1 to 10? Track what precedes your energy dips. I used to try to tackle everything with equal intensity, leading to overwhelm. Then I discovered the power of the one thing domino. It's about identifying the single most important task in your routine that, if completed, makes every other task easier or even unnecessary. It's your keystone habit for the day. For me, if I completed my meditation and initial deep work block first, the rest of my day's tasks, even the difficult ones, felt like they clicked into place. This wasn't just about productivity. It was about building momentum and a profound sense of accomplishment early in the day. Then, proactively schedule small energy boosters into your routine. A 5-minute stretch, quick walk, a glass of water, a healthy snack, or even a deliberate 20-minute power nap if possible. Prioritize sleep above almost everything else. When your energy is aligned, your routine becomes effortless, a natural expression of your vitality. Step 6. The one thing domino. Strategic focus. My biggest breakthrough after the initial design was realizing that not all routine tasks are created equal. Action. Each evening, Identify your one thing domino for the next day. Step 7. The flexibility anchor. Embracing imperfection, the rigid, unyielding routine was my undoing for years. Action. Define your absolute flexibility anchor, the 1 to 2 core elements of your routine that no matter what happens, you will execute. Step 8. The celebration loop. Rewiring your brain for too long, my routine was a chore, a list of obligations. Action. Integrate a celebration loop into your routine. After successfully completing a minimum irreversible movement, or your one thing domino, consciously acknowledge it. Step 9. The accountability partner blueprint. Shared momentum. I once thought routine was a solitary endeavor. My failures were private, my triumphs unspoken. Identify one person who shares similar goals for routine building. But what I learned wasn't about being perfect, but about being relentless in imperfection. Do you believe a simple design adjustment can be the secret you've always sought for your routine? Have you tried everything and felt exhausted by the pursuit of the perfect routine? If this story resonated with you, if it ignited a spark of hope inside you, it's because this video needed to reach you. If you're ready to stop fighting and start building the routine you always wanted with the foolproof method, then subscribe to the channel and let's build that life together.